Hello and welcome to the trade setup. In this video we are looking at Bit Digital. This was a stock analysis request from a couple of viewers, and I wanted to let you know that anyone can make these requests and I will most likely cover them, especially if there is an actionable trade setup to follow. Now on this chart we of course start our uptrend count from the all-time low, and here we are looking at an initial wave 1 to the upside, but with the caveat that this isn't necessarily a high probability interpretation to be tracked as a 5-wave move. We could stretch reality and assume that this is a tiny 1, 2, then this is a third, fourth, and a fifth within a leading diagonal. But honestly, a much more likely interpretation is that this is the A wave up. We have here a tiny wave B and then a C wave to extend within a wave 1 to the upside. And in that case, we can still allow it to be a wave 1, but it isn't necessarily one of those high probability interpretations that would allow us to track with a high probability a continuation in a third wave to the upside, or even a retracement in a wave 2. And not only that, but within this correction, within this retracement, we have broken here below the 78.6% retracement quite significantly, to the point that, again, the probabilities don't favor continuation higher in a specific way. Sure, the market can still do that, and it can do whatever it wants, especially since it already formed a somewhat acceptable structure to the upside from this local low in the wave 2, but it isn't specifically a high probability. We only have the probabilities that we can track here from a smaller time frame perspective to actually track this continuation to new highs. And with that said, from continuation in this downtrend lower, well, again, nothing too bearish going on either, because I can only see a 3-wave move to the downside, and this has already retraced quite significantly, and not necessarily in terms of the retracement levels, because we haven't managed to break the 61.8% retracement convincingly, but from a simple proportions perspective, this wave 4 is not, or this movement is not likely a wave 4 in a larger 1, 2, 3, 4th, and the 5th. And in that case, we have, even for resistance, quite a generic area which we can track, however, that could allow us to track some levels to watch out for, and it would be between the $2.5 level all the way up to the $13.6 level. So far, we have been struggling at the 50% retracement for quite a while. We had a few brief breaks above it, but nothing too significant. And now, to get into the smaller time frame in this area, I am actually tracking a potential 5-wave move to the upside in the smaller time frame here, where I am looking at this as a 1, 2, a third wave up, fourth wave down, and then a fifth wave. There are a couple of ways I could be tracking this correction. I could actually even argue that this is the 1, 2, 3, 4th, and the 5th, although in this correction in wave 4, we have retraced even below the 50% retracement quite significantly. We have been struggling and chopping below it for quite a while before starting the next move to the upside, which makes it just a little less probable for me to be tracked as a high probability interpretation. And then if we are to actually look here for the other interpretation, where this is a 1, 2, 3, 4th, and the 5th, well, we would have had an A wave down, overshooting wave B, and then a C wave to the downside. Well, we would have pushed perfectly into the 61.8% retracement, and then probably even more along the lines of this overall pattern, had an ABC structure to the upside instead. Well, and while I can count this wave 1 somewhat as a 5-wave move, this third wave isn't necessarily the most clear impulse. It could work out, it could be either top, to be honest. It's not that different in the end, however, so just some probabilities pointing out, and I am tracking this as a larger 1, 2 setup. And in the end, even if I were to be tracking this as a larger 1, 2, where the wave 2 would have been ongoing already for nearly a year, I would have actually nearly a couple of years, but I would have actually still been tracking this as a WXY pattern, in which case I would have only expected an ABC structure in this area anyway. Now, with that said, I will be leaving here the larger area of support because, as we can see, we have pushed a couple of times into the 61.8% retracement, which has caused a more significant reaction to the upside. So this does seem somewhat relevant, and in that case, I will add an additional area of support for this possible 1, 2 setup, And I want to point out that even though we are tracking here a 1-2 setup, in the end it could be just an A-B setup, and once we complete the next wave up, we should be prepared for continuation in the orange interpretation to the down in this downtrend, yeah, forming even possibly new lows, especially since from the large time frame perspective we have broken here below the 78.6% retracement. Now, with that said, we can move here on, and I am looking for support here at the levels between the $3.3 all the way down to the $1.3. Actually, apologies, this is the wrong area of support. I am looking for support at the levels between the $2.3 all the way down to the 88-cent level, where as long as we hold here these levels, we can still look with high probability for a reversal to the upside in an additional 5-wave move up. Again, could be a wave 3, could be a wave C. We will need to be patient and judge based on the proportions of this overall pattern before we actually make some assumptions. But based on the size of this initial wave 1 up, well, I wouldn't be surprised at all if we actually push directly above the 78.6% retracement if we really are to form a third wave to the upside. In either case, from this area of support, there is a good chance of forming a substantial rally, at least in the mid time frame, yeah? But so far, we haven't necessarily formed a bottom, where within this wave 2, I am tracking an ABC structure to be formed, where we have here the A wave down, the B wave up, and I'm looking now for the C wave to the downside. Now, within this wave C, I actually would still like to see further extensions. I don't see a completion in place just yet. In fact, I believe we can even track an impulse in this area, and I would probably be looking here at an internal, so here a 1-2 setup, and then another 1-2 setup here, a third wave down, a fourth wave up, and then a couple of 4-5 patterns to complete this overall structure to the downside. In this case, we can even add here a small tiny count for this interpretation, and we can even check the ideal retracement, or not retracement, the ideal extension here for the wave 3, and clearly we have pushed perfectly into the ideal target, the 138.2% extension of the wave 1, which allows me to quite reliably track continuation lower. But for this interpretation, we must absolutely hold here below the 50% retracement. In this case, the wave 4 has pushed a couple of times into the 38.2% retracement, which is also the ideal target for a wave 4, and honestly, we may already be on our way in the 5th wave to the downside. And if this structure really is to fail, well, the only reliable pattern that I could track still for resistance would be this as a larger ending diagonal, instead in a 1-2, a third wave down, fourth wave up, and then a 5th wave to the downside. And I won't add the actual count for this interpretation because right now we are still bound by the smaller area of support, by the smaller count, but I will provide you this 61.8% retracement, which is at the $3 level. This is the level I want to see broken for a more clear signal that this overall pattern, this overall move to the downside is over itself. But from a large time frame perspective, again, I would still prefer extensions lower. I would still like to see this wave C extend lower, and if I were to be looking here for an ideal target, I would be looking at the 100% extension of the wave A, which is around the $1.3 level. Now again, within the wave C, we don't need to get there, and certainly we don't need to stop there. Those are just some, or this is just the ideal target, a level the wave C is generally drawn towards. And this is pretty much it for this stock. If you want, you can possibly consider here a potential 5-wave move to the upside, but yeah, I didn't even point this out initially because within this push to the downside, we have retraced already past the 78.6% retracement, and it just isn't a high probability interpretation for me. Yeah, the only thing I would focus on right now is this smaller area, this wave C unfolding to the downside, and once it is complete, we can be looking for the continuation either in a wave 3 to the upside in the white scenario, or in the orange interpretation, a larger ABC structure to be unfolding. And for now, these are the levels, this is the trade setup. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe and let me know what else you want me to cover, and I'll do my best to do that in the days and weeks ahead. And until then, I hope you have a nice day, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.